This is That's a Freebie. On the show this week, I'll take a deep dive into the tale of the USS William D Porter, a ship that just couldn't catch a break, and also discuss my recent bonding experience with my son and a little bit of an update on the school situation for my daughter. But before that, you know what we do, don't we? We play the theme tune.
Sit back, relax, unless you're driving. It's time for That's a Freebie.
Get ready for the incredible and almost unbelievable tale of the USS William D Porter, a World War II destroyer so accident-prone that even other US Navy ships greeted it with jokes. Launched in 1942 and affectionately known as the Willie D, this ship's career was a mix of heroic service, bizarre mishaps, and enough bad luck to make Murphy's Law look like an optimist's guide to life. William D Porter got off to a rough start, starting from the beginning. Shortly after commissioning, she set off for shakedown training and immediately began her legendary series of mishaps. While leaving Norfolk, Virginia, she managed to rip the railing and lifeboat mounts off a nearby destroyer's deck, but that was just the appetizer. The next day, a depth charge fell off her deck and exploded, causing the rest of the fleet to think they were under U-boat attack. This turned out to be a false alarm, but the incident was enough to keep everyone's nerves on edge. Things escalated quickly on November 14th, 1943, when the Willie D was escorting the battleship USS Iowa, which was carrying President Franklin D. Roosevelt, to a war conference during a routine drill. Someone on the Porter thought, you know what would make this drill really exciting? A live torpedo. So, naturally, a fully armed torpedo was accidentally fired at the Iowa. Panic ensued. The Porter tried signalling the Iowa about the incoming torpedo attack, but thanks to radio silence orders and a series of communication blunders, the messages were less urgent warning and more, we're just backing up, don't mind us. When they finally did break radio silence, Iowa managed to turn just in time to avoid disaster that would have rewritten history. President Roosevelt, demonstrating his nerves of steel, reportedly asked to be wheeled over to the railing to watch. The torpedo exploded harmlessly in the battleship's wake. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet greeted the Willie D with the catchphrase, "Don't shoot, we're Republicans." As you might expect, the Navy was less amused. The Porter was immediately sent to Bermuda for an inquiry. The sailor responsible, Chief Torpedoman Lawton Dawson, was sentenced to hard labour but was later pardoned by President Roosevelt himself. Somehow, the ship's commander wasn't relieved of duty and continued to lead the Porter. The Willie D was reassigned to the Pacific, where she continued to live up to her reputation. In one incident, her radar picked up what was believed to be an enemy vessel moving at 55 knots. The crew opened fire, but the mysterious blimp vanished, leading some to speculate they had just battled a particularly aggressive wave. Her luck didn't improve in Okinawa, where she was assigned to radar picket duty. On June 10, 1945, an obsolete Japanese dive bomber seemed to confirm the Porter's curse. The plane crashed into the water nearby, and the explosion somehow managed to detonate directly beneath the destroyer. The force of the blast lifted the Willie D out of the water like a dolphin at SeaWorld. Despite the crew's valiant efforts to save her, the ship was doomed. Miraculously, no one died, but the Porter sank, taking with her a collection of mishaps that the rest of the fleet would joke about for years. Incredibly, despite all the chaos, the William D Porter earned 4 battle stars for her service in World War II. While her career might have been a series of unfortunate events, her crew's bravery and perseverance left a mark on naval history. So ends the tale of the USS William D Porter, the unluckiest ship in the Navy. Her story is a reminder that even when things go wrong, sometimes you just have to laugh and keep on sailing, preferably far away from the rest of the fleet. Don't forget you can send in your own suggestions for Podtales using the form at Fluxo, that's FLUXO.media. So let's have a little bit of a catch-up. Historically, I've always had, I wouldn't say I've had trouble bonding with Toby, but Toby's always very clearly had a favourite parent. Like, we've always joked that Toby hates me. Like, it is a joke, obviously, he doesn't hate me, but it's always been the funny thing. Like, if he falls in the playground and, I'm a foot away from him, he'll run 20 foot on a leg that's dangling off just to get to his mum, that kind of thing. It's always been the sort of the in-joke between us. But lately, things seem to have taken a little bit of a change. Ever since we started playing, I suppose, to be truthful, it's probably more ever since he got a little bit older. He's started coming to me a little bit more. But since we started playing Dungeons and Dragons and going to karate together, he's definitely started leaning a little bit more towards wanting to bond with me but as well as his mum, which is nice. Just goes to show that, don't give up. I always had him down as it's fine. He's always going to be, we always say a mummy's boy. He's not a mummy's boy, but he definitely always preferred going to mum. But no, lately he's like snuggled up with me at night. He's like, Dad, when can we next play a game together? And it's quite nice. So yeah, there's always something out there that will help you to bond with your child if it doesn't seem to be going as you would expect right now. There is some out there, and we found ours purely by accident. Ours was, I think, definitely the karate, because we started the karate before we started playing D&D together, but that led to him wanting to do more things with me, and he chooses to go with me more often instead of like stay at home with mummy. He'll be like, I want to go with you, Dad. So yeah, it's quite nice. Other things to catch up on is the current school situation for my daughter. Not a huge update. Last time we spoke about it, I believe, if I remember rightly, we'd been given a position at the wrong school, essentially. I think I talked about it. If not, quick update. We were given a position at the wrong school. They didn't even ask at the school that she's been recommended to go to, because that's just the way it works. They always ask at the mainstream school first. So we're looking at appealing it. We've been going through a number of people to get this appeal on the go, and it turns out now that we have to go through a tribunal. So we're probably going to go ahead with that. I only got this information yesterday, so yeah, I'll update as that becomes something more or doesn't become something more. I don't know. Yeah, stressful time, but it's what you have to do, right? It's what you have to do. And I've got one more story of something I saw happen this week. I had to write it down, actually, so I'm going to read it because I didn't want to miss it or get it slightly wrong, because it was a strange turn of events. So there's a guy walking along, and there's a girl walking towards him looking at her phone, smiling away, no idea that he was there. And I was behind the guy, but quite a bit back, so I could kind of see everything that was happening. He very clearly saw her, and he decided that he didn't like that she wasn't paying attention. You could just tell in his demeanour. There was lots of room for him to move, but he got right up to her, squared his shoulders, and planted his feet and yelled, "Look where you're going!" And as he did this, she banged right into him and she fell backwards. It looked really painful. He stepped over her and carried on, but in a bit of a hurry started sort of running away because he realised he'd been a bit of a jerk and knocked her flying. So I went over to help her up, and she was a little bit shocked, but she wasn't that hurt. I checked she was okay. She was like, "Oh, it's all my fault. I wasn't paying attention." And I was like, "No, I saw what he did. He definitely did it to you on purpose. Yes, because you weren't paying attention, but he definitely did it." I said, just, if she needs a witness, I'm there if she wants to report him to security or something like that. Anyway, she didn't bother. She just carried on her way because she was fine. But the best part is I carried on a little bit further down, and about 3 or 4 shops down, because I was walking through a shopping centre at the time, about 3 or 4 shops down, he stood outside the shop bleeding from his nose. I think she'd headbutted him. She'd either headbutted him or she caught him with a phone, because she did sort of throw a phone like up in the air when he did it, sort of swung it back over her head kind of thing. And he was bleeding all down his white shirt. He had a white shirt on and a white jacket, and it was covered in blood. So I was like, yeah, serve you right. This week on Dear Diggy, I've been given a question that is exactly the kind of questions that Dear Diggy was made for. So I quite like this one. It's an anonymous one, but it says, "Dear Diggy, would you rather have fingers that are always covered in butter or shoes that constantly squeak when you walk?" That's a pretty good question. I like that. The answer is I would rather have shoes that constantly squeak when I walk. I know that's annoying for everybody else, but it wouldn't bother me. It might make me a little bit self-conscious, but depending on where I am, I'm only going to see those people for 10 seconds and then I'm going to be gone. So they'll just be able to hear me squeaking away. I absolutely hate it when I get food on my fingers. I don't like Cheeto dust on my fingers. I don't like if my fingers are sticky because I've been eating a jam sandwich or something like that. I hate it. I am the person that when I'm eating a meal, I've got to have a cloth with me so I can always be wiping my hands and my face. Don't like food on my face. Don't like food on my hands. So I would definitely choose the squeaky shoes over all of that. And that is all for this week. I know it's quite a short show. I don't know why it was a short show. I had things to talk about. I talked about those things. I just talked about them in a more efficient way than what I usually do. So, yeah, sorry about that. Don't forget to check out fluxo.media. That's FLUXO.media to see more of my stuff, including links to all my social media accounts. And you can also join That's a Freebie Plus. And this week, I'm going to be reading you a joke to finish that was submitted by my daughter. And she 100% does not think that this is a bad joke, but it is a bad joke. It's more of a statement, actually. She says, if two vegans have a falling out, is it still called a beef?